I noticed as I got older that I was playing it more safe, more conservative. I noticed that after 2020, I also played more isolative. I stayed inside. I said no to things. It became easier and easier. But there was something that just, I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't get away from it. I don't want to play small. I don't want to mute my voice. I don't want to filter myself. I don't want to fit into a box or wear a mask or put on a hat that says that I can't be fully, authentically, 100% me. And knowing that this feeling is there, I can't unsee it. I just can't unsee it now. So this is why I decided to record this video. I am going to talk about the 10 things that playing small has costed me in the past. Little tips and tricks of what I'm doing now that has shifted my energy. And I need to remind myself of this. So it's a bit of a self-documentary at this point. Thanks for being here. So you're here to find out what playing small can cost a person. Well, I am a prime example of that. So the very first thing that I'm going to dig into is doubting yourself, doubting your worth. And one of the things that I did after a 28-month accelerated nursing program, I didn't go and celebrate my graduation. I didn't go out there and say, yeah, hey, did you see? Can you celebrate and validate my accomplishment, my milestone? And I know that lots of people graduate university and they have a huge celebration. So I had a really close friend of mine that didn't have a graduation. I waited like 6 months later and then like sheepishly asked everybody like, can you come celebrate my graduation with me? And like, that's kind of like the way I said it. It wasn't like, hey, I graduated nursing school and I would really love for everyone to celebrate with me. I've been waiting this whole time. I'm really excited. You know, that's even feels a little dampened when I say that. So stand in those celebrations. And when you work hard, you're also allowed to celebrate. Just the other day, I decided to go have some sushi because I was working so hard. I didn't end up taking lunch until 2 in the afternoon. And I was almost going to skip it when there was a little part in like, no, you are going to go and you're going to do some self-care and you're going to celebrate the hard work that you've done because you're crushing it right now, not you're failing because you feel like you're drowning. So it was trying really hard to shift that perspective. But by going out for sushi, in 45 minutes, I came back and I was fed, I was watered, and I felt better about going back to work and I was more efficient, right? So the second is missed opportunities. I've found that since 2020, it was so much easier to adapt to saying no, staying in, and playing small. It really forced a lot of people to just hunker down and be really little and in your own house, and that's what's safe. And there was nothing wrong with that. But I think we missed a lot of opportunities. And now on the flip side, I think more and more people are starting to say yes to events, yes to concerts, yes to cool things, yes to new experiences. And for myself, I said yes to working harm reduction at a metal festival for tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I'm gonna go hang out with 2 ladies that I rarely do and to attend a performing arts circus class on Saturday and then go to a concert. So like, it's so much more lively. It's a way of life to just say yes to certain things. So let's just make it happen. I noticed that playing small can stifle a person. So I already feel like there's a speed bump right before you even start and you gotta go over the speed bump and you're like, oh, that was really hard. I'm gonna stay on this side and I'm not gonna go and push myself to run this race. Understand that this is your race. And for you to put one foot in front of the other, sometimes it means being 5 or 10% bolder than you were last week. And that's what all you're working on. It doesn't have to be like, I have to go from a quiet, introverted person to becoming an extrovert. It's just about being a little bit brighter, being more authentic, being more true to yourself, and sitting into your core and your foundation. So your race, your journey. Settling. This one, I notice for some reason, it always highlights to me in relationships when partners settle for the other partner, and it's not a bad thing. It's like they're comfortable, they're safe, they've built a wonderful bond and connection, and then because of that, they don't want to change the environment. They don't want to shake things up. I will be the example for this. I love change. I loved changing locations, buying plane tickets, saying goodbye to people, having bittersweet endings. And that has always helped me adopt this perspective of falling forward. I fall forward into the next thing and I embrace it, and I am excited to start the new chapter. I am excited to listen to the next song, and I'm not just settling and feeling like I'm on autopilot or on repeat in a story. I really like to change things up because I know that's where growth happens. I think of my life at the end, and I want it to be, I have done everything that I've always wanted to do. Everything has worked out in my favor, and that I have no regrets. I don't like the feeling of what if. And this is something that I have been really struggling with, is like, what if I went traveling? What if I spent the money? How much more fulfilled would my life feel? And it's like coming back to myself and being like, well, what would make me feel fulfilled right now without having to take on an extraordinarily expensive endeavor? So for myself, it's like visualizing what is my perfect day and trying to implement that into my body. So is that just drinking a cup of coffee on my deck, taking the time to think of cool things to talk about? Is it making art? And what is it that's filling my soul? I don't want to have any what ifs. If you have a what if out there that's like, I want to try macrame or skiing, like, give it a go. And the worst thing that happens is you find out you don't like it, and then you don't have to worry about ever thinking, what if? When I was younger, and I would say like in my 13-ish age, I felt super invisible. I had this best friend that was really charismatic. She was really good looking. She was developed, had beautiful long brown hair, and I followed her around, and I used to be kind of her sidekick. And I used to be kind of her like mini friend. And I don't know how people had looked at me, if at all, but I felt invisible all the time. I felt like, oh man, she's the pretty one. They all compliment her. She gets hit on all the time. And I felt really small, and I didn't want to speak up. And I even played small in the way that I wore my clothes. I dressed like a tomboy. I'm like, well, they're not going to look at me anyways. I'm flat-chested and I'm tiny and I don't speak up. I'm really quiet. I played small then. I have learned over the years that speaking up, there's nothing wrong with it. I try to speak up in like morning huddle at my work, and I try to speak up on content, and that's something that brings me here, is to build up that confidence, because I noticed that I have a block in my throat chakra. But I'm working through it, and I think practice is one of the most effective ways to do it. I've noticed that I play small in friendships, and I have heard a lot saying that they don't like to share vulnerable stories or share their failures or tell you what's wrong in their life because they feel like they're burdening you. And because of that, we're keeping it very surface level and playing to a level that we think everybody is going to accept. Like, yeah, I'm tired, or I go to work, and sure, we do things, and the kids or something, you know? And it's very plain. It's very bland. And it's okay to talk about like, I'm feeling money woes, or, you know, I had a fight with my partner, but we're working through it, or my kids are driving me nuts, and I'm having a tough day. This is what I'm planning on doing tomorrow to shift my energy, and having those conversations to build connections and having deeper conversations about more important things that are in our life, like our values or our goals and our intentions with our life and where we're going. I think for a lot of years while I was studying, I felt stunted in all the other categories. I was maximizing and I was on full throttle with school, but I wasn't hanging out with anybody. I wasn't doing anything new. And now that I have the opportunity to do that, I want to say yes to more new things, yes to more exciting things. Even like watching things that I never would have before was something that's like starting to shift my energy. Listening to different types of meditation and trying new instruments. I feel the growth because when we are in our learning and open mindset, we actually are able to connect more with ourselves than when we're on autopilot with things that we are really familiar with. Playing small can definitely dampen your inspiration. I'm gonna poke at AI at this moment. I feel like we have the capacity to create really beautiful things, but because AI is there, we'll go to it and it'll answer all our questions for us. And by answering those questions, we're like, oh, that was easy. It took the weight off of me. But it also gives us like this crutch for inspiration. It's like, well, was that your idea, or was that ChatGPT's idea, or, you know, Gork or whatever? It's like coming back to, for me, to come back to my inspiration is doing things that I like to do when I was a kid and being in silence while I do it, because I find the creative ideas come to me if I'm not blasting it with content all the time. I used to create art and watch TV. So I'd watch Friends, and that's when creative ideas would happen. It's almost like I could tune the TV out and it was white noise for me. Now I'm trying to implement creating in silence or creating with very quiet music and meditative music to help me find more inspired ideas so I can write them down. Carrying a little book and writing them down always helps. And the more you write down, the more your brain kind of taps into that muscle to create more inspired ideas. Because when we rely on crutches to help us come up with ideas, that we can end up playing small and feeling more of that imposter syndrome because we're not solely relying on our wisdom and what kind of experience we have to bring and what we have to offer. Last one is permission. By giving yourself the permission to play big, we can tap into our true potential. And when I say true potential, I want you to imagine a time in your life where you're like, I felt like I could do anything. I felt like I was on top of the world. I was big cheese. I was beaming. I was happy. I got the goal. It was such a riveting and perfect feeling of wholeness, of playing big. And there was nothing hidden. It was like you were exposed and it was a good feeling. Instead of being like, I'm a tiny little seed and I'm gonna peek out and get some sun and then I'm gonna go back down. It's more like, whoop, I am a huge, giant, beautiful flower and look at all my leaves. And then it's almost like you're breathing out into this potential that you have and expanding and growing. When you feel like you have just figured out something, aced a test, got something right, solved a problem, fixed a thing, like, oh, what a good feeling, right? Let's tap into that. And when we take that feeling and we sit with it, we actually can cultivate more of it. Sadness loves misery, right? Happiness also loves joy. So it goes both ways. Now, this whole video is a reminder to myself and you that we don't have to play small. We can play big. And I want you to share in the comments if there's any advice for me or for others that has helped you play big. Thank you so much for being here. If you liked what you heard, hit subscribe. My name is Jenny. Much love.